Hey guys, Dan Rice, FHTOutdoors.com. Today's video, it's a perfect segue into springtime reaction bait fishing. I've learned a lot. I've had a couple of tournaments this year, one with the club, one open. Pretty much got my butt kicked in both of them. But I learned a lot from the aspect of how to fish certain locations and how to adjust in those locations if they're not there come tournament day. I wanted to share some of this information with you because one, if you're up here in Washington State or Idaho or Oregon, you know that our waters are still in the 40s. It's cold, it's muddy. The runoff from the mountains has really made some of the fishing situations or conditions difficult if you're not used to fishing those conditions. You can learn, you can watch all you want about what the pros do and what all these really great anglers are doing. In my particular case, it hasn't worked. And so what I wanted to share with you guys was some of the stuff that I've learned over the last couple of weeks that has worked. And I think it's really going to help out tremendously. First of all, springtime fishing, it's reaction. These fish are warming up. It's not winter any longer. It's not like they're 30, 40, 50 feet deep, all that kind of stuff. Generally, fishing shallow or shallower than 20 feet is probably going to be your go-to scenario. With those conditions, especially if the water is muddy or stained, reaction baits such as crankbaits, lipless crankbaits, swim jigs, that sort of thing is really going to help you put fish in the boat. To get started, I'm going to show you some square bills that I've been fishing. I don't just fish Strike King. I absolutely love Strike King square bills, but there's some other square bills that I do fish, and I think they're worth mentioning in the video. So to get started, fishing in these conditions, it's cold, it's muddy, you're stained, you're going to want to cover some water. In particular locations with cover like trees or stumps or something like that, of course you're going to want to slow down. But if you're out there like me, you fish one day a week and you pretty much have to dial it in right then and there. In that particular scenario or in that case, you're probably going to want to cover some water. If you have smallmouth and largemouth, these baits are going to work for both. So my first bait of choice would be the Strike King 1.5 square bill. I absolutely love perch color. The crankbait is a little light, so you need to make sure you dial in your bait casting reel before casting that bad boy in the wind. The bait excels at deflecting off of wood. The 1.5, in my case, I don't even switch out the hooks, the stock hooks on this particular bait. I fish it right out of the package. I catch a lot of fish, smallmouth, largemouth, and the perch color, it's a no-brainer for here in the Pacific Northwest. The second square bill that I fish a lot, that I've caught a lot of fish on in the past, would be Lucky Craft's 1.5. I do believe this is the RT model in that shad color. And this particular bait, I think the paint or the finish of the actual lure holds up a little bit better. Of course, Lucky Craft, everyone that fishes Lucky Craft lures knows that they come with quality components, really sharp hooks right out of the package. And the reason why I do fish some of the Lucky Craft lures is because of their paint finishes. It's some of the most unique color patterns that you can buy. And so, right up there with the 1.5 from Strike King, those are probably my top two square bill choices. Third that I started fishing a couple years ago when they were first introduced was the River to Sea, the Biggie Smalls. And I primarily use this crankbait for smallmouth. I don't think it deflects as well as the other two, the Strike King 1.5 or the Lucky Craft 1.5, but it's more of a slender profile, and so if you're fishing in waters that have a lot of bait fish mimicking those slender profiles, I think it can help, especially with smallmouth. It allows them, the back of the bait is a little bit slimmer than the other baits on the market, and so it does allow them to choke the bait a little bit better for smallmouth. The drawback is it just doesn't deflect as well, but overall it's a really good crankbait and the hooks are sharp. Of course, all three of those are like that 1.5 size. Of course, up to 3 foot or 3 foot of water, it's really great. If you're trying to get down a little bit deeper, like that 3 to 5 foot range or 3 to 6 foot range, and you're really trying to make contact, that's when I up my square bill size to the Strike King, the 2.5. Of course, there's baits with rattles. There's baits without rattles, which this 2.5 is silent. Chartreuse color, a little bit of orange. Really great when the water is muddy. But both size crankbaits are going to get the job done. Whatever brand you prefer, they're going to catch fish. It doesn't matter which brand you're throwing. But when it comes to confidence and some of the finishes and things like that, people have their preferences, so I get it. That's pretty much covering the square bills. I'm going to grab the rod that I throw it on and show you guys the rod and reel, and then we're going to move on to some medium diving, some crankbaits and lipless crankbaits. Alright guys, so throwing my square bills and my medium diving crankbaits, made the switch last year to Megabass's Levante. This is the flat side special crankbait rod, of course flat side being a crankbait, and it's rated up to 3/4 of an ounce for a lure, 8 to 18 pound line. Generally I'm throwing 15 pound Invizx with my square bills. If I'm going to be cranking for smallies all day long, I'll put on 12 pound Invizx and go that route for a little deeper depth. Altogether, this Levante rod is really, really great. It keeps the fish buttoned well, and there's really not much more I can say other than that. And you know, I absolutely love it. The only negative thing I could say about the Levante lineup from Megabass is that it doesn't have a hook keeper. So on this particular reel, I have to, you know, keep it attached to the reel. The blank is outstanding. The wrap job is perfect. The guides are awesome. I love the JDM look. Paired it up with the Lose Tournament Lite, which is a brand new reel for this year, so it's all blacked out. And you know, the thing about the Levante lineup is that it's entry level for the US market. So if you're a US angler, the $200 price tag is technically entry level for Megabass. It only goes up from there. But I think you get a lot of rod and warranty for the money. So you know, if you're looking for a new square bill rod or medium diving, you know, crankbait rod, I can definitely give this one a thumbs up. It's been perfect so far for 2 years. So let's switch gears to the medium diving crankbait, because that's the next go around here, and I think it's something that I think it's interesting. You listen to the pros, you read all this stuff online, and you're going to see guys that are talking about wrapless Shad wrap, the Strike King 1.5 flat side crankbait right here. Do flat sides get bit more in colder water? I think they do. I think there's a little more, I guess, draw to a tighter wobbling crankbait. And I don't just see that in crankbaits such as, you know, a square bill or a medium diving crankbait. Another really, really great lure choice for this time of the season is a lipless crankbait. And so, you know, the red-eye shad, I've caught a ton of fish on this. Yeah, man, that is a beautiful fish. Healthy smallmouth. Man, giant. I'm trying to get a couple more of these guys here. Some of the Excalibur baits I still fish are really, really great. They have some really cool colors, like some gold colors I really like to fish. But ultimately in the spring, man, if I'm gonna cover some water or cover some drop-offs, it's going to be with the red-eye shad and chili craw. And so, you know, regardless of the watercolor, the great thing about chili craw or any craw-colored bait is that you can see the red. I mean, you can see it in the water when you're reeling your lure back. And so definitely, you know, beyond the square bills and some of the flat side crankbaits, you got to look to a lipless crankbait, especially if you're fishing a grass lake or fishing some ledges or some drop-offs where it quickly drops off like a 45-degree bank.